thank you all for coming. As you can see, I'm an Englishman, but as you can see, I'm wearing a dhoti and kurta and kantimala. And I've been stuck like this for the past 50 years. It's a problem, no? I do lots of weddings, and when I go into a wedding, I stand up dressed like this. And mostly the ladies, they start talking amongst themselves and they say, Hari Bapri Maharaj Dorioche. Which if you're a Telugu speaker, who speaks Gujarati here? Who speaks Telugu? Okay. Tamil? Oh, very good. Vanakkam. So if you know Gujarati, you'll know it's a little bit off color, isn't it? A little bit. Then I say, actually I was living for some time in Nairobi and Kisumu and Mombasa. And I did part of my growing up there. Then I came back to England. So over the years, many, many years, the Gujarati community has been my mother and my father. And I've been raised, not as an Englishman, but I've been raised eating dokla and kanvi and aloo paratha. So now I say, you are what you eat. They say in England, no? You are what you eat. So if you eat Gujarati, you become... That's right. So now I say, Nene. I say, Doriobare Gujarati Andor. But it only works if you're Gujarati. I'm sorry, sir, you're from Tamil Nadu. But you get the joke, huh? You get the joke. My grandfather also lived in India, but he was in the north, in what we used to call Allahabad, now thankfully renamed as Prayagraj. And he was there for the Kumbh Mela. But he was a Victorian. He was in the British Raj, and a big moustache like this. Big Rajasthan, even though he was British, had a Rajasthani moustache. And on the end of his moustache, wax. He used to have his moustache like this. So he lived there for a couple of years and a couple of years in Calcutta. And he learned how to cook, and he learned how to speak the language. And the language in those days was called, not Hindi, but Hindustani. Do you remember? No. The country was called Hindustan, then India. But the language was still Hindustani. So he learned how to cook with, spices. Came in handy. That was in 1899, a long time ago. Then they asked him to go they didn't ask, in the army you get told what to do. So they told him, go to South Africa. Your British were fighting the South Africans. So he went there. And when he went there were some British officers, and they were captured. They had to go into a prisoner of war camp. And he was captured, had to go into prisoner of war camp. No food. So then they took him. They said, hey, you know how to cook Indian food? He said, Tik. Well, she said, okay. They said, well, you go and cook for the officers. Go and cook for the British officers. And in with the British officers, there was a young man who was a journalist, but he was from a high-class family. His name was Winston Churchill. So my grandfather cooked meals for the officers and Winston Churchill. So Winston Churchill, went on to become Prime Minister, and my grandfather didn't. He became a preacher, Christian preacher. And I met him when I was about 2, and he put me on his knee, and he turned to my mother and he said, I think this boy will become a preacher. So he preached in different places for 32 years in different parts of Cornwall, where I grew up. So like him, I like to preach in different places. I speak about many subjects. In the last few weeks I've been to Hastings in Kent, you know, Hastings. Hastings, Brighton, and then I've been to Bristol, Bath, Weston-super-Mare. Then I've been to, where else have I been? Nottingham. And then today in London, Blimey. And you're all Londoners. But even though you're Londoners, you feel an attachment to India, isn't it? How often do you go to India? Who's been to India more than 10 times? Who goes to India every year? Yeah. Well, like Prabhuji was saying, I've been to India 34 times. 34 times. Once every year or 2 years I go to India. So my life has been, just for an Englishman, very unusual. I don't know what my grandfather would say if he could see me now. He would say, my grandson, what did you do with your life? And I'd have to tell him. I read the Bhagavad Gita, and I got to speak about Sanatana Dharma in many places. You know, India is not safe. India is not safe. We need to fly the flag of Sanatana Dharma in India very strongly, and in this country very strongly. India is surrounded by enemies. India is surrounded by China on one side, Bangladesh, where Hindus are persecuted, on the other side, Pakistan, where Hindus are persecuted, on the other side. What's on the other side? They've cut me off. It's MI5, they're cutting me off again. So if you have something that's important, you have to protect it. If you don't protect something, it disappears or it degenerates. If I pick up this musical instrument, this tambourine, which I've had for many years, and everywhere I go, we do kirtan. But if I just drop it, here in the east of London, do you have such a thing as gravity? Or is it weightless? Will it just sort of, like on the space station, will it just go like this? No, gravity is everywhere. Gravity pulls everything down. In your life, gravity can be very dangerous for your stomach. Have you noticed that? Ladies notice it, don't you? When you get to around 35 and you look at your belly, you think, Hari Bapri, what happened to my waist? Gravity pulls us all. It pulls down all the flesh. And eventually you'll look like me. I'm nearly 70 now. Do I look 70? Be careful. So gravity pulls everything down. And time pulls everything down. Time will decay everything. I have a wooden shed in my garden. I put it there 20 years ago. Now it's all rotting. Or I have a lawn. If I don't mow it, the foxes will take it over. If you have food, it degenerates. So everything is attacked by time, by gravity, by corruption of different things. So in life, your spiritual part of you, your spiritual knowledge, that's also attacked. And that's attacked by forgetfulness. You can do that at the end. Do it at the end. Yeah. That's attacked by forgetfulness. You know, you want to remember a person's name and you forget. How many of you have forgotten a password? Anybody ever forgotten a password? It's terrible, isn't it? Now we live in a world of passwords. You have to have so many passwords in order to protect everything, you know. And you get messages every day. I'm older, so I get messages every day. Hello, this is Every. Delivering a package. We could not deliver your package today. Press 1 for further information. And I think to myself, no, I'm not going to press 1. That will take me on a premium rate call to the Cayman Islands. And you will take all my money. Hello, we're just calling from Microsoft. Your computer seems to be very slow. No, you're not calling from Microsoft. Your name is Ramesh. And you're calling from... No, my name is George. No, I'm sorry, it's not. Kya karte hai Ramesh? Aap kaise hai? Oh, you know. Yes, I know Ramesh. I know who you are. So whatever you have in this world somebody or something wants to take it from you, isn't it? So you protect your money. I went back to do a wedding in Nairobi. They said, Nairobi has changed. I said, how has it changed? It's changed because a woman cannot wear her tali. A woman cannot wear her Mangal Sutra that she got married in. Now in India, the culture is everybody can wear the Mangal Sutra, and that's where a woman keeps her gold. But in Nairobi today, you wear a Mangal Sutra and it will be taken from you. So all the ladies now, they're either having very simple Mangal Sutra or they're taking the Mangal Sutra, putting it in a safe deposit box. So everything is being corrupted. See? And time, how many hours in the day do you have in East London? Over here. I know in West London we have 24 hours in a day. Do you get 24 hours here? Yeah? You get, really? Well, we're almost the same, aren't we? Greenwich is, 24 hours in the day. But your smartphone is stealing away your time. Yeah? You're stealing away your children's minds as well. So everything is raksha. Raksha, we have to protect. See? So what is the most valuable thing for you? If it's your Mangal Sutra, you put it in a safe deposit box. But if it's your soul, where do you keep it? Therefore it is said that your soul you have to keep with God. God will keep it for you in a safety deposit box. See? Everything decays. Even the microphone. If you want to... Huh? क्या चाहिए? खत्म हो गया?
I think petrol's gone for some reason.
Huh? TJ?
Yeah.
TJ? Yes. Yes. Both sides. So, if you want your soul to be protected, the innermost part of yourself, your identity, and you say, my dear God, please look after it. This is called Atma Nikshepa. Nikshepa is a safety deposit. Atma Nikshepa. Atma means the self, the innermost part of you, that you don't want to have corrupted. This, in ancient India, if you want to open up a deposit account, if you want to open up a bank account, you say, I want to open up a lepa. Lepa, say it with me, lepa. This is an account. This is thousands of years ago. They would ask you, what do you want, deposit account or current account? I want a deposit account, please. You say, deposit account. Nikshepa lepa. Nikshepa lepa. Yeah. So when you want to put something valuable in a deposit account, then it's, let's say you have a precious jewel, mani nikshepa lepa. And this is atma nikshepa. Atma nikshepa means I give myself as a deposit. They're going to look after it for me. God will look after it for me. But in order to know if we even have a soul, we turn to Sanatana Dharma. And Sanatana Dharma and science, they're going hand in hand. My father was a policeman. You won't tell by looking at me. He was a private detective, but he was a policeman actually. So sometimes when the police, they have a crime scene and they're trying to find extra information, they call in someone who has vision with their third eye. We have one eye here, one eye there. Children, what do you call a deer, don't you? A deer? What do you call a deer with no eyes? Huh? You know? No idea. No idea. Okay. It'll come true. So, Hare Krishna. Jai Sisi Garna Jai Ki Jai. She can ring the bell softly. Good. So, Sanatan Dharma, very important. What does that mean, Sanatan? It means that which is not subject to corruption, that which does not change. You know. Let me tell you something that the scientists have discovered only last year. They were digging in the ice, and they found a seed of a plant, and it was in ice that had been there for 32,000 years. 32,000 years. They found a little seed of a plant. They didn't know what the plant was, but they looked after it very nicely and they planted it, and it sprung into a beautiful little white flower. From 32,000 years ago, all the genetic material was packed into that seed, but 32,000 years later, it would grow. This is Sanatan. Mahatma Gandhi, you know who Mahatma Gandhi is? He's the man on the money. If you go to India, his face is on the money. Father of the nation. So Mahatma Gandhi, he said, if all of the Sanatan culture was taken away, if some attacking force destroyed everything in India, but it left one verse, that one shlok would be able to completely recreate Vedic culture all over again. And it's this verse from the Isha Upanishad. Isha Upanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatjam jagat tena jaktena bunjita ma gridha kasya svidhanam. It means that everything in the universe is owned and controlled by Isha, by God, including ourselves. And when we know who's in charge, then we feel great security, great protection. You know, once upon a time, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a deer. It wasn't no idea. It was a musk deer. Do you know musk? You know musk? It's a perfume. And this deer had a little. Musk is a very precious perfume. It's 3 times more valuable than gold. Can you imagine? What's the price of gold these days, gentlemen? Huh? Any jewelers here? Any Sonys? So 3 times more valuable than gold is this perfume. And it comes from a little gland about the size of a golf ball between the navel and the somewhere further down. And it's there. And during the particular season, this perfume comes out. But the musk deer, even though he smells it, he doesn't know where it's coming from. So he runs over to the other side of the hill because he's smelling it on the breeze. Where is it? His little head is going like this. He wants to know where it goes. And then the other deer, there's another musk deer on the other side of the hill. He's smelling the perfume. And he's looking for it. None of the deer know that it's coming from inside them. So there's a yogi sitting on the hill. And he looks at this and he thinks, this is the principle of the human beings. Within them, they have something so precious. It's the most precious thing to them. But they don't know it's there, and therefore they can't enjoy it properly. So the yogi says happiness comes from within. The nice story? Happiness comes from within. But you don't know that it's there. Happiness is within you. The only thing we're doing is looking for happiness. Nobody here in this room today, I'm looking at all of you, nobody got up in the morning and you thought to yourself, today, Sunday, right, yesterday I was happy, so for a bit of variety today, I'm going to be really unhappy. I'm going to bump into a door. I'm going to drive the car up on the pavement into a lamppost. I'm really going to try hard to be unhappy. Nobody thinks like that. Happiness is what motivates us. From the tiny little creature to the big elephant, everybody's looking for happiness, moving towards it, and moving away from unhappiness. But we don't know how to get it. I'll tell you another story. There was a man who makes, what's a Gujarati word for charcoal? Kolsa. Everybody know kolsa? Yeah. Charcoal. You burn it in the fire. And it's slightly better than wood because it doesn't weigh very much. But in order to get it, you have to burn wood half. So there was a man in the forest and he's making his kolsa. Every week he goes to the marketplace and he sells it in the marketplace. Just makes a few paisa, but he's happy. One day, he sees a gentleman come to the forest and the gentleman is panting. He's going, and he's got sweat pouring down his face and he's got scratches from the brambles and his clothes are torn. And he says, help me, help me. Man goes over and he says, just like that. He says, I want to help you. How can I help you? He says, well, I was hunting in the forest. My horse ran off. I've lost everything. I don't know where I am. Please help me. He gave him some water. Man said, thank you. He gave him some food. He said, thank you. He said, I'm a little tired. Can I rest? Put him down to sleep. Man slept all night. Got up in the morning. He said, I want to thank you very much for what you've done for me. I was a stranger and you looked after me. The man said, it's my duty to help you. So, but now I'd ask one more thing. Kripa DJ, give me one more thing. Just show me out. Tell me where to go out of the forest. So he took him to the road. He said, I just want one more thing. Can you walk with me just 1 mile? I recognize where I am now. Walked with him 1 mile. And they stopped outside a sandalwood tree forest. Big sandalwood trees. And he said, I haven't been straight with you. I said, why? He said, well, I didn't tell you who I am. Who are you? He said, I'm the king. And everything in this area belongs to me. And I want to give you a gift. Because you looked after me. You are the perfect example of Sanatana Dharma. You looked after a stranger, but you didn't know who I was. And you didn't do it for any money. You just did it selflessly. He said, oh, yes, thank you. He said, you see this forest? Beautiful sandalwood trees? It's yours. So he looked. There was 100, 200, maybe 300 sandalwood trees. He was rich. Sandalwood trees. Money, money, money. Okay. Would you be happy with 100, 300 sandalwood trees? It's a lot. So he went back to making charcoal. King came back 1 year later. And he said, my friend, this time the king was looking very nice, had his white horse. I was just galloping past the sandalwood forest. It's not there. All 300 trees have gone. Where is it? How can they vanish? He says, Your Majesty, I made kolsa. I burned them all. He said, but my friend, don't you realize if you take one little bit of twig and you grind it and the oil comes out, you can sell the oil for hundreds and thousands of rupees. He said, Your Majesty, I didn't know that. I just make charcoal. I'm a charcoal maker. Every time I see wood, I burn it. So the yogis say, in the same way, we don't know the value of what we have. We have the human body, and we have 70, 80 years at our disposal. And if you use it very carefully, by practicing yoga, you can squeeze your innermost self and get the real perfume, the real benefit will come from it. And that will give you the highest happiness. Do not burn through your body in 70 or 80 years, and it will turn into ash. At the end, we'll all be ashes. But even though the body is turned into ashes, then you will have the greatest happiness, not only in this life, but later also. One more story. There was another king, and I told this story at a funeral, and it was a Catholic funeral. You know Roman Catholics? Everybody knows Catholics? Pope's just died. Do you know the Pope? Just checking. Sometimes I'm with a Gujarati group and they go, "Oh, Pope, gotcha." So this was a Catholic funeral. Because I also signed passport application forms, you know. Box number 10 on a passport application form. The priest gets to sign, so they asked me to sign. So sometimes they're English, sometimes they're Irish, sometimes they're Gujarati. Anyway, this Irish voice on the phone, and I thought it was from the embassy, but it was somebody who wanted me to do a funeral. So I thought, what am I dressed like this at a Catholic funeral? 80 people at the crematorium, all Catholics. And the reason why she wanted me to do the funeral was because her sister had been interested in Krishna. And her sister had made, in her will, she said, when I die, I want a Hare Krishna funeral. I want a happy Hare Krishna funeral, not a sad Catholic funeral. Anyway, 80 people all dressed in black. Me dressed like this. What was I going to say? Not my religion. What could I say? So I told the story. And I told the story. I said, look, once upon a time, there was a king. And the king was with his minister, and he was in a hall just like this one, with 80 warriors, 80 soldiers, like you. And the king said, is it true that when we die, we go to heaven? If we die fighting? And the minister was cleared his voice, and he was just about to say something. And at that very moment, from that window there, look, up there where I'm pointing, right there, a bird flew in. And it flew across, and it went out that window out there. And the minister turned to the king and he said, there's your answer. The king said, what? He said, there's your answer. He said, if you want to know whether the soul lives on, he said, you see that bird? That bird is like your soul. And the bird flies through the room. Everybody in this room is like somebody that you knew in your life. That window is birth, that window is death. So tell me, my king, is the bird still alive after having flown out the window? King said, of course it is, still flying. Was the bird still alive when it came through that window? He said, yes. So similarly, after death, you live on. The soul is spiritual, not material. The body dies and is burned, but the soul lives on. In the same way, my dear king, the soul was alive before birth. We just passed through. Each and every one of us, we're just passing through. And as we move on, we continue our journey back to God. So I told that story, and I thought, please, my dear Krishna, let that story meet with some approval. Well, after the funeral, she came walking towards me. Her face was like this. And she had 4 boys on one side, 2 boys on the other side. They're big Irish lads dressed in black. Their faces were like this. And I thought, uh-oh, I said the wrong thing. And she said, you know that story you told? I said, yes. A story about the board. That's how they pronounce it. Story about the board. I said, yes, the bird. Anyway, she said, that was true. It happened to me. I said, what do you mean? She said, a month ago I had an operation. During the operation, my heart stopped. And they couldn't get it going again. And they tried for minutes to get my heart going. She was 76. So they were doing CPR, trying to get her heart going. And she said, as soon as they started trying to get my heart going, he came out of my body. And I was on the ceiling looking down at the doctor. He was swearing and cussing and, trying to get my heart started. Anyway, she revived, obviously. She came round and the doctor came to see her. The doctor said, Mary, we got you back. It was touch and go there for a minute. She said, yes, I want to thank you very much, doctor. But I'm a good Catholic woman. I don't want to hear words like that coming out of a doctor's mouth. You were swearing blue murder. He said, no. He said, I'm a medical professional. I would never say things like that. She said, to be sure you did. I was on the ceiling listening to you. And of course, he had to admit that she had heard everything. So there is another plane of reality. We are in this plane of reality. But there's another plane of reality in which there are permanent realities that don't change. This world that we're living in changes. We get old, we get diseased, we get even older, and we finally pass away. But the reality is that the soul never changes. The soul never dies. And when you live your life based on trying to develop your consciousness of the soul, that is called spirituality. And when you practice spirituality, it comes from the Latin word spiritus, means that which animates you, that which really makes you move, that which is the seat of your consciousness. Spiritus. And when you get spiritus, when you get spiritual life, and you know what makes you more spiritual, and you know what makes you less spiritual, you know what I'm saying? And you want to do the things that make you more spiritual, make you remember your higher self, and you try to cut down on the things that, make you less spiritual. It's like when you go to Weight Watchers. Not that any of you have ever had to go to Weight Watchers. But if you want to lose a few pounds, you go to Weight Watchers, and they say, well, you have to cut down on biscuits. No more biscuits. And no more eating at the Hare Krishna temple. Hare Krishna temple is very famous for fat and sugar. You have to go to a health shop and eat dry roots and berries. Promise me you won't go to the Hare Krishna mandir. Anyway, the doctor will tell you, don't eat this, but you can eat this. Okay? Don't drink this, but you can drink this. Like that. It's a set of rules. When you follow the rules, a rule is something which binds you to a particular type of consciousness. And something which binds you to something else is called a ligament. Any doctors here? If you take your finger, just take your finger. I'm not going to ask you to do anything embarrassing, but take your finger. Just feel behind your knee. If you feel, you'll feel a ligament. Okay? Feel a ligament? If you twist it or break it, you'll know about it. It's very painful. But this ligament joins your lower leg below the knee to the upper leg above the knee, kneecap. So ligament comes from the word ligare, which is also a Latin word. Ligare means to connect, and religare means to reconnect. So religion is religare, to reconnect ourselves to God. So, but when you know what works and what doesn't work, then you start practicing things, and then you teach it to your children, and their children teach it to their children, and their children teach it to their children. And it goes down, 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 until people eventually forget why they're doing it. So sometimes religion is very famous for people doing things, but not knowing why they do it. It's like the girl who got married. You know this one. The girl got married, and it's very difficult for a girl when she gets married because she goes to her husband's home, right? She goes to her husband's home, and she has to make sure she does everything nicely. But the mother-in-law is never really pleased because she doesn't cook roti the same way. Or the rotis look like Australia, a map of Australia, and the shak is too runny, and the siro is not quite toasted nicely, and the husband makes a face like this because his new wife's cooking is not like his mum's cooking. But the mum doesn't want to upset the daughter-in-law. You know how it goes. So anyway, what happens then? She goes to she goes to the house, and the husband says, "So, this is your first day cooking. My new wife. You going to cook me something? You know, aloo paratha and sabji and, you know, some nice things." She says, "Yes, I'll cook you some nice things." And she starts looking on the floor. She says, "Where's the cat?" And she's looking for the cat. He says, "Well, we don't have a cat." She says, "Well, I have to find one." He says, "Why do you have to find a cat?" It's because we had a cat at home, and my mother always used to pick the cat and put it in a basket before she started cooking. So I have to cook, and I have to find the cat and put it in a basket, wash my hands, then I can start cooking. So she's, you get the point? She's doing a little ritual that is not really anything important. Like in the days of the British Raj, days of Queen Victoria, you know the word viceroy? Viceroy. Viceroy in Delhi, in New Delhi. Big, big house. It's a true story. And he has a lawn, and the wife of the viceroy, she looked out on the lawn one day and she saw a beautiful flower growing on the lawn. Now normally the goat will eat the lawn. They go up and down with the goats. They don't have lawnmowers, they have goats. Okay? But there was a nice little flower that the goat hadn't eaten, and it was a purple flower. And the viceroy's wife, she said to the viceroy, her husband, she said, "Oh, can you post a man there to make sure that the goat doesn't eat that flower? It's a beautiful flower." He said, "All right, my dear." And he was so powerful in those days, he just went. And a soldier went from the big mansion, stood on the lawn. He stood with his gun like this, making sure no goat ate that flower. Do you realize if you go to Delhi today, you will still see a soldier standing in exactly the same place? True. Hundreds of years later, that's where they put the sentry. There's no flower. In fact, there hasn't been a flower there for 100 years. But old habits die hard. Old habits die hard. So spiritual life is dynamic. It means you're understanding your connection to God, you're understanding who you are, you're understanding the things that will help you. But religion, sometimes we do things, we don't quite know why we do them. We don't quite know why we do them. It's not that they're bad, but unless you know what you're doing, you can't tell anybody else about it. Someone will come to you and say, "What's that dot that Indian ladies put on their forehead? Why do you put that dot?" "I don't know. My mother did it. Her mother did it. Her grandmother before her did it." "Oh. Why do you touch the flame for arti?" "I don't know. My mother did it. It may not be quite good enough." Because sometimes in your life, you get to the point, "I don't know why I do anything at all. I don't know why I do anything." And the difficulty is that when you're surrounded by people who are not Hindus, to protect Hinduism, each and every one of us needs to know why we're doing something. Because otherwise, it won't survive. Just like your parents, they came from either India, either Gujarat, or they came from Rajasthan, or they came from Tamil Nadu. Vanakkam. That's it. That's all I know. Vanakkam and Koila Enge. That's all I know. Good enough. So they came from India and they spoke Gujarati. They went to East Africa. They spoke Gujarati and Swahili. I also speak Swahili. Imba ya jina ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Habari yako, mzuri sana. Okay. Chakula. Lete hapa. Anyway, so people come to this country. Do your children speak Gujarati? No. Do their children speak? Maybe your children speak a little. And then Gujarati, gone, vanished. Which is a shame, because it's a beautiful language. Because the words in your home language, there's words in English. There's not enough words in English to tell the stories that you want to tell. In English, there's not enough words to describe spiritual things, you see. We have many, many words coming into our language now which are computer words, isn't it? The words are made in America, and they come over because they come through technology and science. That's fine, but we have to keep our vocabulary alive. So Sanskrit is the vocabulary of understanding the spirit, and that should be kept alive. Sometimes it's cooking that you want to keep alive. Ladies, don't be ashamed, but can your children cook? Can they cook? Sometimes they can, and sometimes they say, I can cook, but my daughter, she can't cook. So if she can't cook, then her daughter won't cook. So gradually it's lost. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that as time goes by, things become lost. This Sanatana Dharma becomes lost. And I myself have to come. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam shajamyam. I have to come. All the way down, I have to come. To do what? To lift up the people who are the good people. Put them in a position of influence. Paratranaya sadhunam. Then vinashaya chatushkritam. So this school that we're sitting in, beautiful school. But a few years ago, it was not here. 8, 9 years ago, the building was here, but no Sanatana Dharma. And there's schools like this in different parts of the country. So A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my guru, he was told by his guru, he said, look, take this Sanatana Dharma, go and speak it in the English language, see if anybody takes to it. So I was one of the ones who heard that message and have stayed with it. And in my life I've tried to give it to my children, and I'm very happy to say that my daughters and my son, they embraced the Sanatana Dharma and they spread it to their friends. You know, when they made, everybody like pizza? Who likes pizza? Put your hand up. No, you're Gujaratis. Pizza is just chapati with some tomato on top. Nothing new. Anyway, in Italy, pizza was a poor man's food. Then they took it to America. Then it became something else. Oh, pizza, something special. Then they took the pizza back to Italy. And in Italy they said, oh, American food. Something special. It wasn't anything special. So my daughter the other night, my daughter Janvi, she was in Bombay the other night. she put on a concert. 1,800 people came. 1,800 people to listen to what? Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. 1,800 people. Not only that, they paid to come. Why do you have to pay for this? It's like paying for pizza in Italy. A friend of mine went to India. He was driving along in the taxi. The sun was coming down. He saw people coming from the fields. In every village, they went and they did kirtan. Went and did bhajan. Before bhajan, bhajan. This was something that has been going on forever. I was in Andhra Pradesh and I went walking. There was 200 of us on Padayatra. We were walking all over India. This was in 1985. We were celebrating the 500th birthday of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so we came to a village just south of Vishakhapatnam. Vishakhapatnam is in Andhra. And there was a village called Lula. And when we got there, it was before breakfast and everybody was doing kirtan with drums and cymbals. 200 people. And I said, they said, we do this every day. Every day before breakfast we do it. I said, how long have you been doing it? Oh, 500 years ago, one sadhu came to this village and told us, do this every morning before you eat. So they'd still do it 500 years later. That's the glory of India. That if something is worthwhile, you hold on to it. These days, if you go to, Buckingham Palace, or you go to the House of Commons, or you go to the House of Lords. One of my friends was just made a lord. I've known him since he was this age, playing cricket on the lawn of Bhaktivedanta Manor. He says, his name was Krish Raval, Anyway, he became a member of the House of Lords. Not the first Indian in the House of Lords, but first person I know. And he made his vow on the Bhagavad Gita. So now he's in the House of Lords. And but they have these old ceremonies. They keep it going. And Britain is known for these old ceremonies. But India is known for even older ceremonies. The oldest culture in the world is India. That's because it is Sanatan. Many cultures have come and gone. Egyptians, the pharaohs, where are they now? They've come, gone. Etruscans, come, gone. Phoenicians, come, gone. The Roman Empire, come, gone. British Empire, Khatam ho gaya. It's gone. We lost everything. Now we're hoping that we can hang on to Scotland. We lost India. We lost Borneo. We lost parts of Africa. We lost Kenya. Where else did we lose? Canada, yes, we lost Canada. We lost America. Lost everything. Didn't hold on to it. So time and tide wait for nobody. All these empires have come and gone because they're all founded on the principles that were not Sanatan. They're founded on restless principles of politics and what seems right at the time. But there's a difference in life. One is called prayas, or what is pleasing for you to do. Something's pleasing, prayas. And another is shreyas. Shreyas means long-term happiness. Shreyas means what is good. So you have a choice in life. You can do what pleases you now and tomorrow. And at the bottom end, people are doing things that make them happy today. Today I'll watch the football. I'll watch Liverpool play. Who? Tottenham. Okay. And I'll be happy. Well, if your team wins, you'll be happy. If your team loses, you'll be unhappy. If my team wins, I will drink beer. If my team loses, I'll drink more beer. And tomorrow I'll feel very unhappy because I'll wake up in the morning and my head will feel like a hammer is dum, 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 dum. And yet still they do. So material happiness has a limited lifespan and there's always consequences. Therefore Krishna says, don't do it. Please don't do it, he tells Arjuna. He said material happiness is like nectar at first. But then at the end, it's like poison. Spiritual happiness is the other way around. In the beginning it is poison. At the end it's like nectar. Who likes to get up in the morning? Well, eventually you get up in the... What time do you get up Sunday morning? 11 o'clock? 5 o'clock? Give that man a round of applause. So yeah, getting up early, but we don't like to. Who likes a cold shower? Thanda pani snan. No one likes. Who likes to do meditation? Oh, you do. That's why you're here. But it's an effort that's required, isn't it? Who likes to do meditation and they can't eat before they finish the meditation? See, for happiness, we say, I tell everybody, you have to take your meds. Your meds. You know what meds? M-E-D-S. Take your meds. M, meditation. N, E, exercise. Right. D, diet. Watch what you eat. And then S, sleep. So make sure you get enough meditation, sleep, exercise and diet. And you'll be able to maintain this machine that you call the body. But for anything extra, we need spiritual practices. We need more. So that is Sanatana Dharma. So we have a very rich culture. Shall I finish here? It's getting that time.
5 minutes and then
Okay.
yeah, we'll take questions maybe.
Yeah. All right, well, let's have some questions, then we'll keep going, because I can keep talking for 4 or 5 hours. I'm famous for it. I will make you so bored. Anyway, my friends, I know that you know what I'm talking about. And you know that I know that you know. And I think I want to compliment you that you've kept this culture alive. Very important. You should all be congratulated for it. This is not easy. It's something very rare. It's like a precious flower that we keep. We have to keep it guarded. Hello, you've arrived just in time. Yeah, you can pass the mic around.
Okay, so do we have any questions from the audience? Yes? Anybody else? Just so I know we've got a few hands. Yeah, okay, I'll come back to you.
Hello.
Sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kripamoya. Prabhu, you spoke some wonderful stories. I think you know more about India than us Indians. A compliment.
I can even wobble my head. You have to do this before you can go to Tamil Nadu. If you don't, they ask you as you cross the border into Tamil Nadu, can you wobble your head? And you, which means yes or no, whatever. Yeah.
I have a question. It's relating to soul, super soul,
Yeah.
and our subtle body.
Oh, you're deep.
It is just really to understand the seat of soul, super soul. And when somebody dies, the soul leaves the body.
Mm.
What happens to the super soul and the subtle body until the soul takes another body?
Mm.
So if you kindly throw some light on that, please.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, the question is about death, and of course, we all forget our last death. There is, people have trauma in life. Sometimes people are afraid of spiders, or sometimes people are afraid of getting in a lift. And when people have problems, they go to a doctor or a therapist. And some therapists are hypnotherapists, And there's a great trend at the moment for going to a hypnotherapist. And the hypnotherapist will take you back to the time of your trauma in this life. I knew one girl, when she was 3, an Alsatian dog barked in her face. And she was so scared. So the therapist had to take her back so that she wouldn't be afraid of dogs, you see. But sometimes they can't find the moment of trauma. So experimental therapists have started, over the last 25 years, they've been taking people back to the time when they were a baby in hypnosis. So they're sitting like this and they say, how was it when you were a baby? And they start speaking as if they're a toddler and making baby sounds and say, okay, I want you to go back before you were a baby. Where were you? And they start saying, I'm in a dark place. My mother loves me. Like that. Okay. Now go back. Back. And then they go back and then they start saying something else. They start telling stories about who they were the last time round. And then in that life, they find the trauma. And in many cases, many cases, they found something unusual that happened in that life that was unusually painful. And then, as soon as they remember what it was, they come out of the hypnosis and they're fine. They're cured. So what I want to say is that we are carrying with us everything we've ever been and everything we've ever done. And that continues. You know when you go on a flight, on an airplane, you have your 23 kilos and that's underneath, right? And then you have your 15 kilos and that's your cabin baggage. And then you have one personal item. Except if you're Indian, the personal item is a microwave, a kettle, what else?
Pots and pans.
Pots and pans, yeah. Anyway, so the material body, this body made of flesh and bone and sinew and muscle. This is the lowest manifestation of yourself. The upper manifestation of yourself is your mind, and you also have your intelligence and your ego. So these three things, the manas, the ahankara, what did I say, and the buddhi, they form what is known as the subtle body. So subtle body goes with you, and the gross body gets left behind. Just like people go into space, don't they? These 6 ladies just went into space, yeah, for 11 minutes. $150,000, 11 minutes. That's a good business, gentlemen. Space business, very good. But you take your clothes and you put on a space suit because you're going for a journey in a different place. You have to take the atmosphere with you. So when we die, you leave your gross body behind. But your subtle body, the mind, intelligence and ego, that is taken as your hand luggage. Unfortunately, you can't take your 23 kilos with you, but you have to take your hand luggage. And then Krishna says, in your next life, you get allotted 5 senses based on the conditioning in your mind and intelligence and ego. You go looking for a suitable birth. And this is happening all the time, not just to people who believe it, but to people who don't believe it. Now, you've all heard of the television company called Channel 4. You've heard of Channel 4? Yeah. They prided themselves. They don't do very good programs, do they? Slightly better than Channel 5. Anyway, they came to me and they said, we're making a program about children who remember their previous life. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what I can. Anyway, there are many stories of children who come to their mothers, usually the mother, and they say, Mummy, yes, darling, where's my other mummy? You've got brown hair, but my other mummy had black hair. Where's my other mummy? Now, a Hindu mum, she says, tell me more. Because the Hindu mum believes that the child had a past life and she may be able to tell us something about the relatives. And in cases where she has, they go and visit relatives, little child, 5 years old, saying, that's uncle, that's him, that's him. They name everybody in the room. There was one story where they had 25 relatives in a room. They thought, let's see, little girl, she came from 35 miles away and she was pointing this one, this one, this one. She said, that's him, that's my husband. And the husband, of course, is embarrassed. But it happens many times. But it's also happening to young kids, and the English and American. Now sometimes the mother and fathers will say, you didn't have another life before this one. You've only had one mum. You've only had one dad. Snap out of it. And in some cases, if they're Christians, they say they don't know what to believe. Because Christianity doesn't have, you only have one life if you're a Christian. There's no lives this way, no lives next life, only one life. Believe in Jesus, up or down. That's it, finished, khatam ho gaya. Very limited. But there's children being born in Christian families who remember the previous life. And they start drawing pictures. And one boy, he started drawing pictures of airplanes. And he knew all the details of the airplanes. He hadn't seen it in books. There's nuts and bolts he was talking about, all the details. Because he was an aircraft mechanic in his previous life. So eventually the parents, who were both Christians, they didn't know what to do. They thought it might be haunted by ghosts or the devil or whatever it was. So they took him to a reunion of people that had fought in Japan on the battleships. And he went round the room. This is a 9-year-old boy. And he said, "Hey Frank, how are you? Hey Jim, how are you?" And Jim and Frank were now, 75 years old, saying, "Who are you, kid? How do you know our names?" He said, "Well, you remember me. So the soul remains the same. You package, you take with you. And not everybody can remember, but when you do remember, it comes up. Now, does this have any practical application? Okay. Well, as I said, my father was a policeman. When you come to a crime scene where someone has been murdered, for instance, you have to find a murder weapon because that's got the fingerprints on it. So if you find the murder weapon, you can trace it to the criminal, the murderer. So in a particular case in Kent, not so long ago, in about 1995, they couldn't find the murder weapon. They called in a psychic, someone who can see, not on this level, just with the eyes, but someone who can see with the buddhi, with the intelligence. And this has ability to see far away. Even though you're sitting in one place, I can be sitting here, and I close my eyes, and I can see what's happening in another part of Redbridge. So this psychic sat in a chair, and she said, "Oh, the murder weapon is down the road, over the fence, in the garden." The criminal threw it into the garden. Police went there, found it. They said, "Well, we don't know how it works. It's not scientific. We don't believe it. But we found our man." So the police, when they get desperate, they will always call in the psychic. A friend of mine, he had a difficulty, he had a prolapsed colon. You know what a prolapsed colon is? Your big colon should go like this. His was like a U shape. He went to the doctor in Harley Street. The Harley Street doctor said, "I'm sorry, we're going to have to operate. We're going to have to do surgery. Go past the receptionist and we'll sign you in for a very expensive operation." So he was just about to sign the document and he said, "I wonder if there's anything else." So he called a friend, and this was 40 years ago, and there was something new that had come from China, and it was called acupuncture. Acupuncture. Okay? So he said this was something new at that time. Nobody knew what acupuncture was in England at the time. He said, "What is it?" And his friend said, "Oh, it works wonders." So he went and had a treatment with acupuncture. The acupuncture doctor, Chinese doctor, said, "You're too much yin. Too much yin. You should have more yang. Let me treat you." So he put the needles in. Within a couple of weeks, the colon was back up. He went back to the doctor on Harley Street. "That's incredible." He said, "How did he do it?" He said, "Well, he put needles in my body because there's invisible lines of chi in the body. And in India we say circles of prana." And the doctor said, "Don't be silly. That's nonsense. If it's invisible, then it doesn't exist." He answered, "But I'm cured." He said, "That was a coincidence." So now, if you go to a doctor and you've got a real problem, the doctor may say things to you. A National Health Service doctor will say something like, "Have you tried meditation? Have you tried acupuncture? That might work." They're not so afraid to say these things. Acupuncture should not work, isn't it? It should not work because it's based on something that you can't see. Whereas allopathic medicine is based on things that you can see. you see. So when we come to this Sanatana Dharma, half of it is what we can see, half of it is what we can't see. Yeah. Just like an iceberg. Huh? If only the Titanic knew that half of the iceberg was underneath. Well, what is it? 80% of the iceberg is underneath. So you've got to be very careful. So just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. So much of what we read about in Bhagavad Gita or other books talks about things that aren't. How do we know it's there? Because this culture is thousands of years old. Thousands of years old. And if you don't believe it, you can do the experiment in your own life. Just take this one mantra. Take this one mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And see what happens. Take it seriously. Take it to the point where it becomes uncomfortable for you. Push past that barrier and you'll experience great joy. You see. When I first came to the Hare Krishna temple, they said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And I looked around the room and I said, he's not happy. Someone was like this, Hare Krishna, Ram, 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 Ram. I said, he just looks mad. Another person was like this. Yeah. Then the person said to me, no, you have to understand, becoming truly happy is a very serious business. You have to be very serious to be happy. So in this way, we apply ourselves. And what I see is that Krishna consciousness or Sanatana Dharma is spreading all over the world. You know how many devotees of Krishna, Russians, there are? Who chant every single day Hare Krishna? 100,000. 100,000. It's like an explosion. Many years ago when I was a boy, I used to tell people, you know how many branches of ISKCON we have in India? 17. Okay. You know how many Chaitanya Mahaprabhu temples there are now? 350. We started with 100 temples that Swami Prabhupada made. Now there are 1,300 all over the world. Huge temples in South America, North America, Canada, even India, even in Delhi. Even in Delhi we now have 13 temples. One in Gurgaon, one in Lajpat Nagar, one in, where's that? Huh? Punjabi Bagh, Rohini, Greater Kailash. Thank you for helping me. Are you from Delhi? Yeah. Oh, there you go, that's right. And anybody can walk into these temples. So there's a revival going on. You can do two things. You can watch it go by, okay, and you can be a spectator, or you can take part. You can take part. But that will be like Steve Jobs in his garage. He's made something called an Apple computer. And you go, and you know what's going to happen. And you just go, oh, that's interesting. One day you'll be really big. And he goes, really? How do you know that? Do you want to invest? And you go, no. You'd be foolish, wouldn't you? Yeah. My friend was, she lives in India now. She's my age. But she was there when Steve Jobs used to come to the temple, you know, and wherever it was, California or something. And he used to come once a week for the Sunday feast, Hare Krishna food. So rich, it will keep you going all week. Be careful. Anyway, she wrote to him, she said, my computer has died, could you send me one, please? I was there when you were a boy. He sent a whole computer outfit all the way to India. when I was just in California, and in California, my daughter has a friend who works in Google. Know Google? Everybody knows Google, don't they? Anyway, Google headquarters is a very playful place to work. Lots of bright colours and lots of things to do. And everybody's young and healthy and drenched in sun. Lots of sunshine. Anyway, you know, at the side you get Google Ads. You know Google Ads? So the head of Google Ads is someone called Gopi Kalahil. And we had an appointment to meet with him, head of Google Ads, internationally. And you know what the most thing he wanted to do? He wanted to do kirtan. He said, I love kirtan. He said, I can't play any instruments and my voice is not good. He said, but I love kirtan. So now he does kirtan. And to all of Google employees all over the world, he introduced Google Yoga. Not a particular type of yoga, but they call them what do they call them? The Yugals, Google Yogis. They teach yoga. So in your lunchtime, you can go and do yoga. Because he thinks it's so important for your health, generally, your health. So I would like to commend the path of yoga to you, the path of yoga, the path of Sanatana Dharma. It's all part of a package. Don't let it die on your watch. Pass it on if you can to others. Just like these schools, every single student who comes here will be educated. Little Sanskrit, little yoga, bhakti. They'll be so much more richer as human beings when they grow up. So these have been started now in how many places? 12? 12 places, different parts of the country. And they're very happy. My friend here, Shamananda Thakur, give us a wave. He's an optician, and he went up to Bishop Stortford in northern Hertfordshire. And there he was looking after people who were the parents of children going to the latest school in Bishop Stortford, the latest primary school. All English people, all very, very happy with the school. Why were they happy with the school? Because of the values of Avanti schools. Respect, discipline, empathy, self-control, integrity. Come on. Courage, yes, thank you. So all these different qualities. And when they were building when they first went to the Bishop Stortford schools, what was happening? The local government put out a plan. You know, they put out a tender, they invited bids for people to look after the schools. They asked the Church of England, they asked another private academy company, and they asked Avanti. And they chose, over the Church of England, they chose Avanti schools. Haribol. Why? Different quality of life, higher quality of life. We should be angry that our schools are not stopping children from smartphones and problems of bullying and suicide among children going up. There's so many problems. Drug addiction in our schools, you know. It's like, it's a terrible thing. But no one wants to say anything. You see, nobody wants to say anything because it's, hello, you've just come right on time. So, I'm commending this to you and I'm saying, keep it alive, share it, know it, learn it, teach it, help others. And at the same time, Krishna is very pleased. There's a transcendental reciprocation. As you share, you will receive. That's Sanatana Dharma. Hare Krishna. Didn't quite answer your question, but... So, it's the 8th anniversary of the installation of the deities, who I can't see here, but small forms of the deities are here, with their hands raised. In the Bhagavad Purana, it is stated in the 11th book, Krishna Varanam Tusha Krishnam Sangobhangastra Parashadam Yagyai Sankirtana Praye Yajanti Sumedasa. Sumedasa means very intelligent. It means that in the age of Kali, the very intelligent people, that means you, will worship that incarnation of Vishnu who comes, not with his astras, his weapons, like the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, not like this, to Paratranaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Chadushkitam, he comes with weapons. This time there's no weapons. Sangha Pangastra, his associates, and the weapon coming out of his mouth that will transform people's hearts and lift them up is the Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna, 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 the name of Krishna, Krishna Varana. So it is said that Suvarana Varana Evango Varangaschanganangadi Sannyasa Krichamo Shanto Nishta Shanti Parayana. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he gives up his ordinary life so that he can share Krishna with others. This is why his right hand is up, his left hand is up, because he's always dancing to the vibration of the holy names. So 500 years ago he came. Today we are increasingly offering him homage. And this ritual that we have is called an abhishekam. Abhishekam means a coronation. Just like when our King Charles was crowned in Westminster Abbey, they took sacred oil, they put it on his head. They put a crown, they put it on his head. This is called abhishekam. So the abhishek we give to God, how can you make him king of anything? He's already the King of Kings. He's already the master of the universe. How can you make him king of anything else? Or when you put liquid on his head, you crown him with honey, yogurt, water, and you make him king of your Atma, your Atmaraj. So when you do Abhishek, it means, my dear Lord, I now crown you as king of my heart. I'm making a deposit to you. This is my Atma Nikshepa, my deposit. Please look after it carefully in your bank. I'll come back for it sometime. Hare Krishna. Take. Bolo Krishna Kanaya Lala Ki Sat Sanatan Dharma Ki. And if you want to come, the book is available in the foyer. It's a book I wrote called Sanatan Dharma. Give me one copy over here. Showing here. It's come all the way from Delhi just for you. It's by Penguin, so it's very trusted. There we are. And there's there's so many hundreds of questions, real questions from real Gujaratis asked by them to me over a period of 20 years. I collected all those questions, put short answers. I sent it to Penguin in India. They said, wow. Wow. We will print this for you. So now it's on its way in India to become a national bestseller. We just got another 1,000 books have come on the ship from India, and they're already printing more. And this is going to be a standard book in the Avanti School Trust, going to be presented to all the students when they're leaving, and it's going to be the basis for helping the parents of children to understand the values of the school that they're sending their children to. So get them while they're hot. They're very hot, right? Hot books.
And available to you for only £5.
Only £5.
Only £5. Please.
Guruji explained about roots of the difference between religion and spirituality.
Yeah.
He did not explain definitions.
Right.
So that is very good
Very practical.
from my point of view.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I have a question as well.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Okay. He's sneaking one in there.
So what is the difference between meditation and kirtan?
Between?
Meditation and kirtan.
Meditation is an English word, of course. Kirtan is a Sanskrit word.
Same?
Kirtan means to describe. To describe. So we are singing about, and we're describing someone. So Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, like that. Meditation means to focus your mind, to concentrate, to fill your mind up with one thought. So kirtan is a meditation. And meditation, the best way of doing meditation is kirtan.
Both the same.
Yeah. Sometimes you get an English word and a Sanskrit word, and they mean the same thing. For instance, we say religion, it's a Latin word. In India they say dharma. Dharma. Yeah.
So dhyanam, meditation, kirtan.
Yeah, dhyana is meditation, yeah. What comes first? Pratyahara, turning your mind inwards, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi, progressive meditation. Yeah, thank you.